So we're on Van Ness Avenue, and that is Paramount Studios. There used to be an entire city block that is now missing because Paramount had it demolished for some sort of future building that hasn't transpired yet. But this is where Western Costume was, right on the corner. Across the street where Raleigh is, behind that used to be an ice skating rink called the Polar Palace. And over the years, we've seen this particular driveway used in a couple of TV shows. Monk was one of them. We watched it. It was a bus stop. And also there was an abduction in the movie The Closer. They set this up to look like a payphone in one of them and a bus stop in another one of them. It's like weird things happen all the time. You never know what you're going to see or what you're going to experience or who you're going to see. And this is kind of a fun one. This is something a friend of mine told me about. In 1999, there was a movie made. There was a spoof of Star Trek, and it was called Galaxy Quest. At the beginning of the movie, Tim Allen was abducted by aliens, actually brought along with aliens in a limousine, thought he was going to a convention, a science fiction convention. And the limousine actually transported him up to a spaceship. And this is the alley that the limousine came in. And this is the exact spot that the limousine was parked in when they beamed it up to outer space. And as soon as it went up, a little dog came just over here barking at the propelled limousine. So this is a scene from Galaxy Quest shot here with Tim Allen. Another fun film that was shot here, there was a movie called Love and Mercy with John Cusack starring as Brian Wilson. It was a bit about the Beach Boys, and towards the end of the movie, it was almost the final scene of the movie, John Cusack was walking down the street exactly where we are right now and was crossing the street just over here. And I believe that's where he met his wife, or the woman who would become his wife in the movie. Right about where you see that bus stop, about 25 yards in, is where Western Costume was. And in the movie Baby Jane, Betty Davis parked her car just there on Melrose and walked over to the building, which is now gone. See the Paramount water tower there between the two palm trees. And this next story is actually just kind of a location involving a murder. If you've been on the Dearly Departed tour, you've heard the murder of the guy named Robert Lees, who was the screenwriter, Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein, and a lot of television, etc. And a guy by the name of Kevin Graff murdered him while he was in his bed, sawed off his head, then took the head and hopped the back fence and broke into that house and left the head on a bed and killed the man in the house. Morley Angleson was his name. And took off in Morley Angleson's Mercedes, leaving him dead with a fireplace poker in his throat, and his penis had been cut off. Nothing. So the next day, Graf went to Paramount Studios and he went to the guards and asked to a phone number or contact information for a woman who worked there. And the guards basically told him to, get lost. So he came over here and sat on this wall where I'm sitting now. And in the meantime, there was a press conference that had aired on television identifying him as a suspect in the killing of Robert Leese and Morley Eggleston, because they tracked him through fingerprints as a person of interest. So the Paramount guards happened to be watching television when they ran the photograph on the news of him, and they went, hey, that's the guy. And they looked on the cameras, which you can see is still there on the building, and they saw that Graf was sitting exactly where I am right now. So they called the police. The police came and arrested him, and he just went with them. He didn't have any guns or knives. He only had a Bible and a can of mace. The Valentino building and the Paramount lot, that's supposed to be torn down too. Now what you're looking at is, in the reflection of the car, is actually a picture frame, and it is an autograph of a woman named Lily St Cyr. This was a gift given to me by my old neighbor, Lisa Hyde, who worked in costumes in Hollywood for decades. She sadly passed away a few years ago, but Lisa gave me this autographed picture of Lily St Cyr, who was a well-known burlesque performer known as the Atomic Bomb of the 40s and the 50s. She was a pinup queen and stripper, etc., but rose it up to a different level. And she also got it to the point where she had her own lingerie collection too. She had a shop on Santa Monica Boulevard called the Undie World of Lily St Cyr. It was across from the Starwood Bar, which is where the Runaways used to perform. And there's a very famous story about Cherie Currie, who was one of the Runaways, on stage. They were going to do Cherry Bomb was one of their big songs, and she ran across the street to a lingerie shop and bought herself a corset to wear on stage, and it became an iconic piece of costume for them. And that was a Lily St Cyr corset from Lily's Undie Worlds, and this is actually Lily's home where she lived and died. So as you can see, Lily's real name was Willis Marie Van Schack, and she lived here and died here on January 29th, 1999, of heart disease at 2:43 p.m. She was 80 years old. And this is the last home of Lily St Cyr. God bless Lily St Cyr. Actually, it's the first of two Rocky Horror references you're going to hear today. Hers was the one on the right, the bottom straight ahead, actually, just to the right of the doorway. This is a cool old apartment building. The Casa Feliz. So we're now at I Love Lucy Square in honor of Lucille Ball, co-owner of Desilu Studios, and Lucy Casado, who was the owner of Lucy's Adobe, which is a restaurant that's very well known around here. I've tried more than once. I would not recommend it, but a lot of people love it. But that is the former RKO Studios, and then it became Desilu. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz bought it. It's not where they made I Love Lucy, but they took the profits of I Love Lucy and bought the place. You're going to see the Globe in just a second, which is Rocky Horror reference number 2. So Lucy's Adobe does have a couple of benches out here, so we're going to sit here and I'll talk a little bit about the studio across the street. So this was the former RKO, and Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz did own this, and eventually, after the divorce, Lucy bought him out. And but this is where shows like Mission Impossible, The Untouchables, Star Trek were all Desilu Productions, and this is where they were shot. There was also Columbia in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I talked about that before, but Brad Pitt picked up Leonardo DiCaprio just down where those steps are, and they drove off alongside this building. But in 1966, when Lucy owned this, here's just an old script cover from Desilu Studios, an old leather-bound script cover. And at this point, in '66, this was their financial statement, which somebody gave me. And it's just very sort of interesting. It's just all the contents, the shows, the lot, the physical property of the lot. You can see the different projection fees, etc. It's a pretty interesting little document. And there is let's see, here we go. Their annual report, Desilu Productions annual report. It's kind of a boring document, but it's a fun document anyway. It shows the physical property of Desilu Productions, and we are sitting probably right about there right now. And if you look at this picture, you can see the globe, the RKO Globe right there. And the RKO Globe is still here. So originally it was built in 1919 as the Roberts and Cole Studios, then it became RCA, and then Joe Kennedy bought it, Howard Hughes bought it, General Tire, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. They sold it to Gulf Western. Gulf Western is now Paramount. So it's gone through a lot of incarnations. But that globe is so iconic, and it makes me smile every time I drive past it. But you know what doesn't make me smile? It's that. It's been here for months like this. Smile. Not smile. Smile. Not smile. So this is the former foot entrance to Desilu RKO Paramount. They closed it all off. You could see these are no longer active doors. There's a great photograph of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz coming down the stairs that were there till not that very long ago. So my friend Colleen gifted me with a check. This check was written by Fred Ball, who was Lucille Ball's brother, written to Willie Mae Parker, who was Lucy and Desi's nanny, for $159.40, dated April 15th, 1959. You can see the address for Lucy and Desi Arnaz Desilu Productions is 780 North Gower. And if you go over this way, remember I said this is old RKO property. You could tell by the condition of the building that it's really old. 780 North Gower. So when this check was originally written, it would have been in this building. So from over there to over here, and in 1972, this was the entrance to the Woltz International Pictures in the movie The Godfather. So when they show them driving into the movie studio gates, these were the gates that they drove into. This soundstage on the left, God, you can see how old they are. Look at the old wooden doors over there. The Doctors. I shot an episode of The Doctors here. And also Red Fox died for the first time on this lot. They revived him, then took him to Hollywood Presbyterian. And one of the sound stages is supposedly haunted by Heather O'Rourke from Poltergeist. And just over there, where those trees are, is the Jewish section of Hollywood Cemetery, Beth Olam.